there.
Hi, welcome back to Curious Collection. I'm Will.
I'm Cinnamon.
So this morning we were talking about different sales platforms. You know that we have our eBay store, we have Whatnot, we've got user ID. We don't typically sell on Etsy, but we've also got Etsy, Posh, and Mercari as well. We used to have Bonanza. So we're talking about the different platforms, what purpose those platforms serve. And I think everybody out there would readily agree that Etsy is for handmade goods with some focus on vintage.
Right.
But we were kind of like, well, what's the point of the rest of them, right? Because you kind of you look for an item and then you go, oh, I know where to find that.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, we tend to buy all of our new in package staple items. You'll go on there if there's a specialty coffee that you like,
right? Or if I want
get it delivered to us or to our
daughter. So that's something that we'll typically do is if I'm talking to my daughter on the phone, I'm like, oh, I have this wonderful electric blanket. And I get to snuggle up with it on the couch. So I bought her an electric blanket and then I can just ship it directly to her. And I love the convenience of that. Or I found a coffee I love and I can just buy it and ship it to her. And then we can still share that. But it's so much more expensive for us to have it here and try to ship it to her in addition to the cost of the item.
Mm-hmm. So we kind of came to the consensus that at least in our household, Amazon is the new in package, most typically the common item or the utility staple item.
Yeah, not something
items
that we're buying as a one of those like collectible gifts, you know, if like my brother-in-law is into Civil War. So I'm not going to buy a collectible gift if I go, you know, I'm not going to go to Amazon for that. I will go to eBay so that I can find that vintage artifact. You know, that's what I go to eBay for, you know, or like, you know, our vintage jewelry. When my mom broke her Pyrex percolator, I went to eBay so that I could find her that vintage piece to, you know, to do that.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to find the vintage percolator on Amazon. Most likely. But we were kind of talking about like, okay, well, Posh is fashion.
Right.
It's higher end clothing. It's jewelry. But we're like, kind of like, okay, well, what? Because we're the long-term thing is that we're kind of thinking about doing some cross-listing. You know, we did expand to Whatnot, and we talked about how Whatnot it's about experience and entertainment.
It is. It's a completely different shopping experience. So, like, for his ephemera, like, we go through and we're showing the snapshots and we're telling stories and, you know, and we're communicating with the people, with the buyers and, you know, oh, well, what was the one that you really loved that you bought that lot for? You know, and there's kind of that like back and forth. There's the curated, you know, oh, well, this is a lot of travel photos, or this is a lot of transportation photos. And, oh, you know, so-and-so, we know you love these types of photos. So, you know, make sure you're paying attention because we know that this is right up your alley. It's more of that curated and storytelling, and there's more of that connection in the Whatnot shows as opposed to when you're on, you know, eBay, you are just a picture in a list of a bunch of other pictures. There's no connection. They're not, you know, it's not as often that they're coming back to you as a store. You know, because they have that connection, which is awesome when they do. That's those repeat buyers that we have. And those are great. You know, that's a great thing that we have. But the Whatnot, it's a little bit of a different
it is, right.
And there's also the whole like urgency, that sense of urgency. You know,
20 seconds and it's done.
Yeah.
Because then it's on to the next person.
On eBay, you look up an item, you want to look up a pair of Nike shoes, and you're bombarded with thousands and thousands of Nike shoes. Well, there's certainly no sense of urgency, and there's certainly no reason why I would pick this listing over this other listing, you know?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, like, there is that mindset that, you know, I do hear people throwing at us, like, is eBay dead? Because there is competition now. I don't think competition means that eBay is dead.
No.
I mean, certainly I think that there's a place for it. I think that it's a different platform, and we have to think about it in a different way.
Yeah.
So kind of talking about our experience on Whatnot, and so last week we had done the show with some jewelry, and we had shown some great pieces of jewelry that were appropriate for the season, and we noticed that
not on Whatnot. On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Okay, you had said Whatnot.
Well, I'm talking about our experience selling on both platforms. So on YouTube, we had talked to you guys about some great pieces of jewelry, and we noticed that within 2 or 3 days, they were all gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like virtually everything that we had shown in our video, people saw the video. They said, "Oh, that's a great piece." So along those lines, I want to thank Donna. She did pick up one of those great pieces of jewelry, and she picked up a figurine. So we appreciate that. But then also, like, it's a interface, because last night on Whatnot we had a YouTube viewer who's also a YouTuber, Hustler Hacks, had given us a tip and said thank you, and so we do want to appreciate them as well. But I think that kind of in my mind, the whole topic of the video is what is the best use of each platform?
Mm-hmm.
And tying into that, how important is it to have a curated store? So that's not really something that we talked about, but it's something that kind of 10% of our customers last year, so over 300 customers that we had come back and bought a second or third or fourth item, right? So I sell Ship Ephemera, and the people that buy Ship Ephemera continuously come back. They'll come back on payday. They'll come back once a month or every other month, and they'll buy another piece. With the jewelry, you have people that like the fashion, like the style, and they'll continue to come back and buy those same pieces. Right. And I want to present this out there to the community. And what is your experience? Do you have a curated store, or do you just grab the items that you know you can flip? Because, you know, I do see some of the people out there that they'll give you a list and they'll say, hey, buy this massager, buy this baseball bat, buy this golf club, buy this. And what you end up with is a store that's not really curated. And I don't know how much of that you're going to get repeat customers on.
Right, because you're not,
Right. And right now, I feel like it is more important than ever to have repeat customers. So within our Whatnot channel, we have one customer who's bought virtually every time that they've been in the channel.
We've got a couple of customers who come back every week. Chad comes back every time and makes a purchase, which thank you so very much. We appreciate you for sure. And so
you develop a relationship with those people, and you understand what they're looking for, and you can source better for them, and you can make sure that you have things in your store that they like.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I'm going with this is, each platform is best suited for a different type of audience. But how much weight are we as sellers putting on curating each store so that it presents well for our customer, and making sure that those customers have things that they're interested in? And again, like I'm asking it for me, like it's not really been something that we focused on over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, but I think that maybe it's something that we need to be considering.
I think the last year or so we've been focusing more and more on that. And then when we do, it's that whole niching down, right? We're finding what's working, and then we're adjusting. And even our Whatnot, in the last 6 weeks, we've made drastic changes to the items that we have for sale, because the customers that we're having are kind of demanding that. So, we started out, we had a broad ephemera.
Not knowing what was going to be popular, what people were interested in.
Right. But
I took a little sample of across the board everything that we had.
We had magazines, we had like travel brochures, we had postcards, we had snapshots, we had CDVs, we had, just a wide array of different types of ephemera. And, when you have crickets on an item, then you have good sales on other types of items, you kind of go, oh, well, this worked and that didn't. So we change it up a little bit.
Yeah. And that feedback loop is much faster.
Yes.
In real time when you have a winner and when you have a loser, because literally it's going to either sell or not within 20 seconds.
You know that you're showing those items to the people who are in front of you, and that's kind of like, not to get conspiratorial or anything like that, but when you have like this large group of items on eBay and you're like, it has 0 views. Then you're going, okay, well, is it not working because it's a really crappy item? Or is it not working because it didn't actually get put in front of any of the people who it might have sold for because they didn't know. I've tried to go on eBay and look things up for purchasing purposes, and I can't necessarily find what I want. Or conversely, like there's times when I don't know what I want and I just kind of want to go shopping, and it doesn't work like that anymore on eBay.
Right. It really doesn't do a very good job presenting things in a way that is prioritized for the buyer. One of the things, again, we've talked about our packaging and how important it is for us to get the best pricing. And one of the things that we had to buy this past week was size 0 envelopes. I know that the last time we bought them, they were at 12 cents. And so I'm out there and I'm like, okay, like it's time to reassess. The previous person I purchased from raised their price. So is there someone else who's coming in at a better rate?
Yeah.
And I ended up finding somebody who had them at 8 cents because I dug, but honestly, they weren't in the top 20. I ended up going down probably to page 2 in order to find the person who had 500 for like just an insane price. And I mean, I bought it from them immediately. And all the while I'm going, is this a scam? Like the price was so good that now I'm hesitant. Why is it that eBay wouldn't show it to me? Were they hiding it from me because they wanted me to pay more on the product? Was it because the person only had 150 feedback? It was all positive, but they're a new seller.
Right. So even though their price is way better than anybody else, they're getting hidden, even though like that's what we want to see. He puts it like lowest price first. So why?
The problem with that, when you're looking at quantity listings, you say, okay, I want a 500 count, size 0 mailer, and they're going to show you the person who has from, you can buy 1 mailer,
right,
or you can buy 500. And so they get the best price because they are offering 1
less, quantity.
Right. So it still doesn't work great. And I don't want to make this all about eBay search being terrible.
Right.
It really is, if you're the guy who I bought the mailers from, are you selling multiple pieces of packaging? Do you have the best rates across the board? Or are you running it like the thrift store model where you just sell everything at the thrift store that you can make money on? And so that's kind of the question I want to present to you guys is how much focus are you putting on your business? And I'm not saying this in a way that you have to. I want to know for us so that like what's working for you? Is it working for you to build a curated store, or do you just do the thrift store model and do you cross post that to all stores?
Yeah, see, that's the other thing too. Like we're talking about possibly doing like some type of cross listing, which is great. Because obviously right now it's necessary to kind of get our stuff in different directions. And with my jewelry, yes, getting my jewelry on Poshmark would be a good idea, I think. But his ephemera isn't going to sell on Etsy or Poshmark. Like you're not going to Poshmark for postcards, So then that doesn't work.
Right. or anything else that I have that's paper. Last night I sold a JFK ephemera from his presidential candidacy. That is an amazing piece. But honestly, eBay's the only place that I could think that someone would find that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at, is that, again, we do want to start cross-listing to other platforms. At least we're in the, feeling it out stage. And we really need to educate ourselves, because it's with regard to our eBay store is a culmination of work of the last 5 years. It is literally that thrift store model where I've got military patches, I've got print ad stuff, I've got pocket knives and dishes, and it doesn't make sense as a store. If you walked into this store, you, like, in a physical brick and mortar, you'd be like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so, yes, we do have those repeat customers. And when they come back to our store, I'm sure that they're clicking on that button on the top of the page.
That just says jewelry.
Just take me to the stuff I want.
Yeah, exactly. Let me just see these categories. And I think that we're moving in that direction. I know that for myself, like, 99% of the things that I list are jewelry. And
I don't want us to, expand out to another platform, cross list 100% of our store, and have it, like, why would we want to create more chaos and more things that don't make sense? Like, if we're going to do it, we want to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Not knowing what the right way was when we started the eBay store.
Yeah, good point.
Kind of turned it into a hodgepodge. And, if we're going to go into Poshmark, we want to go in with purpose, and we want to have, a curated store. Or, if you find that having the curated store is overrated and people don't care what your store looks like, let us know about that. They're just buying by the piece
anyway, and they're not,
right. But this morning we had somebody reach out to us that wanted 4 pieces of Monet jewelry. They were all on cards.
Yep.
Right. So, like, they're literally like 20, 30-year-old pieces of jewelry that are new. Right. So, they're unused new.
Right. They're still the new old stock.
They're
or
vintage.
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's where I'm at. That's kind of what's on our mind today is, we're trying to think forward and trying to think about what we're going to do with our business as we expand to multiple platforms.
And I don't know, again, we know that we have to do more research on the cross-listing things. I don't know if you can just cross-list certain categories, because again, like, it would be such a waste of money to cross-list all of the ephemera and then have to, like, pay when it sells on eBay, which is the only platform it's going to sell on. So why am I listing it on other platforms when I know it's not going to sell there?
Right. Yeah. So again, we have zero clue about cross-listing and how it actually works.
Yes.
So I don't know if you have to choose individual pieces. I know I looked into it a couple of years ago, and it seemed very complex, in that you had to edit your photos to make them work on different platforms. You had to edit your titles because the different platforms had different title length. So again, we put 90% of our work into one platform.
So that's where our knowledge is.
Right. And I don't want to see us wasting that valuable resource. So we have to do it right when we decide to do it.
Yeah.
And we have to do it effectively. So let us know if you do cross-list, or even if you don't cross-list, and if you sell on different platforms other than eBay, how important do you think it is that your store have some type of theme, makes some kind of sense? Or do you just think it's completely irrelevant? So.
Right, because it's just that one listing that's going to get sold, and that's all that there is to it. It's not about, all of the other multi-quantity sales, people coming for repeat business. Yeah, I don't know. We've got, 10% of our sales or 10% of our sold items, 10% of our customers are repeat customers. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. So I feel like 10% of our business is I feel like that is important. To have those items that they can go, ooh, I love this, but I also love this. And if I feel like 10% is a lot. So yeah, but I don't know, because again, like, there's just so many questions, So what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
What do you have to add to the conversation as far as your, tried and true? What do you see? Are you getting more than 10% of additional sales by cross listing? Because if we could get, 10% more additional sales, then that would be pretty darn. And how many sales percentage are you getting on these other platforms? Because for the longest time, you'd hear people and they'd be like, woohoo, I got one sale this month on Poshmark, or,
Right. When we were selling on Bonanza, we'd get a sale every month or every other month.
Yeah.
And so it really wasn't worth our hassle because of the changes that they made on the platform to continue with Bonanza.
Right. And if you are going to invest so much time, energy, and money, I mean, some of those cross listers have got a pretty hefty price tag.
Well, the one that we had looked at Vendu, and it was around $100 to do I think it was 2,500 list. Don't quote me on this. So
yeah, we don't know yet.
Whatever it was somewhere around $100 for what we would require. The other one is the Tree Cat, and they were charging 50 cents per listing, and then you pay that 50 cents when it sells. Again, that's when it sells on any platform, not just when you've cross-listed it. So, for us to pay 50 cents for every transaction on eBay, we sold 5,000 listings last year on eBay.
Right. So we're going to spend $2,500 on a cross-listing platform. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Right. So now you're talking about $200 a month.
Right.
In additional fees.
Are we selling more than $200 a month on other platforms? Like, well, yeah, of course you'd have to. And it would have to be more than that, because it would have to be enough that would make sense in a business.
In our business model, it would have to be 4 times that. So you'd have to do an additional $1,000 a month on other platforms.
And then where are you going to get $250 a week on Poshmark?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Like, that would be a lot of sales, I would imagine.
Yeah. So before this turns into a rambling rant video, I do have one other thing. There's a reseller in the YouTube community, a 1 Foot Flipper, and he has asked people to, reach out to their subscribers. And if you are familiar with him, or if you're not, he's looking to replace his prosthetic leg next week. It's $8,000. He's hoping to pay for that with his eBay sales. So if you're interested in Pokemon gaming, board games, that type of stuff, and you would like to help him out, check out his channel, go to his eBay store. I can't even imagine trying to have a huge life expense
like that
and have that come up and try to pay for that,
it's a lot.
It is a tremendous amount. So regardless of what you think about the guy, I don't know if you've watched any of his videos. He can be a little crass, but I still want to at least try to add some value there and lend some support if we can. So thank you guys. Please let us know, what do you think about cross listing? What do you think about curating your store? And what do you think about different platforms? What's best to sell where?
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much. Good luck to you guys out there. Like and subscribe. Comment down below.